Welcome to this last gathering in the month of December, and welcome to SSUC, to Southminster Steinhauer United Church. We gather here on Treaty 6 territory, and we share our acknowledgement and appreciation for the long history, tradition upon this land, and for the inheritance that we share with our Treaty 6 brothers and sisters, our Métis friends, and all who call this their ancestral and adopted home. Today, we gather in the spirit of old and new, ringing out the old year and in the new. It's not New Year's Eve yet, but it's a chance to honor what has passed in 2019 and what our hopes and dreams and intentions are for the year ahead. And so as we light this flame, we express our gratitude for light, for all the ways that light shines in our life, for our day star, shining at the center of our solar system, for the source of light and energy, for the light that shines in the lives of each of us, and for the light that shines in our common humanity, connecting us, each to each other, and to every living being. So we're grateful for this candle, that in this Christmas season it can continue to remind us of the light that brightens in everything we do and say, that focuses us and draws us toward all that's meaningful in our lives. And so we gather in that spirit to sing our gratitude, to live our gratitude. Let's place our voices together as we share this prayer of awareness this morning. We are here in the turn of a new year with a desire to cultivate a positive spiritual life. We lift our voices with a shared commitment to seek ways to live fully and love deeply, to be inspired by the depth of wisdom which nudges us into new ways of thinking and being, to discover new ways to receive and offer compassion. May we open to the wisdom that invites us to nurture habits that will shape our living in more soulful ways, today and always. This is our time for all ages. Anyone want to come to the carpet? No? Maybe? I'm reading this story regardless, let me just tell you. Hi, good morning. You brought something special. Hi, everyone. Hello. It's early. Have you ever made mistakes? No? Never. I make mistakes. I sometimes button my shirt so that the buttons and the holes are wrong. And someone has to say, "What's with your shirt?" And then I fix the mistake. I made a mistake before Christmas. I changed my cable carrier and internet carrier at home. That was a mistake. I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to read to you a story that's really good for the end of a year and the beginning of a new year when we change the calendar and kind of we get to start again. It's called The Book of Mistakes. And I want to just warn you, this is, sometimes I pick weird books. This is one of the weird ones. This is called The Book of Mistakes by Karina Loiken. Let's go with that. I made my first mistake saying her name. Okay. This is hard to see at first up there. It started with one mistake. I don't know if you can see if it's a mistake or not. Maybe it is, maybe not. Making the other eye even bigger was another mistake. Now she's got really big eyes. But the glasses, they were a good idea. The elbow and the extra long neck, mistakes. But the collar ruffled with patterns of lace and stripes, that was a good idea. And the elbow patches, that was a good idea too. The bush was another good idea, dark and leafy, so that you couldn't see through it. To the frog, cat, cow thing that I drew first. Another mistake. The big space between the ground and the bottom of the girl's shoe was a little bit of a mistake too. But the roller skates, those were definitely not a mistake. The second frog, cat, cow thing made a very nice rock. And the girl, with the very long leg, looks like she always meant to be climbing that tree. Even the ink smudges scattered across the sky look as if they could be leaves, like they'd always wanted to be lifted up and carried. It's hard to see on the screen, and it's hard to see unless you look close, but the artist made some leaves on that page, but before she made leaves, there were a bunch of smudges on the page. Now, what about the girl? This one. Oops. Darn ink splots. Oh, no problem. She's wearing a hat. Oh, lots of balloons. We just have to flip the pages now and look at this. Oh my goodness, this picture's getting bigger and bigger. Do you still see the girl? How about now? How about now? Do you see how with each mistake, I'm guessing that this big forest was a really big mistake. With each mistake, how she is becoming. Do you still see her? Where'd she go? Oh, well, it's hard on the screen. It's really hard on the screen. She's tiny, and there's her balloons right down there in the bottom right-hand corner. Look how big this picture is getting. Do you see how she is becoming? Do you see? Do you see now? Oh my goodness. This is very strange, because look, there's the picture we started with right there, and there's the girl with the balloons right up there. And now, it's in her hat. I know, I feel the same way that your face looks right now. Do you see now who she could be? Our mistakes become beautiful. Well, that's an interesting story. Beautiful. I love it. I just want to say one more thing before we go. We don't have to be an artist, but we all make mistakes doing whatever it is we're doing. Sometimes drawing, sometimes getting dressed, sometimes making decisions. We all make mistakes. But they can become beautiful things. We just have to work with them a little longer, not give up, keep on going. We can fix it. We can make something beautiful. So, you're welcome to return to the table over there. This is a reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, starting at verse 18. Forget about what's happened in the past. Don't keep going over old history. Instead, be alert. Be present. Look, a new thing is happening. Something brand new. It's bursting out. If only we open our eyes to see it. There's a road through the desert. There are rivers in the Badlands. This is wisdom writing from the Hebrew Scriptures. May we find wisdom for our living.
This is a poem, Ring Out Wild Bells by Alfred Tennyson. It's an elegy written about Alfred Tennyson's friend, Arthur Henry Hallam, who was engaged to Tennyson's sister. Arthur Henry Hallam died suddenly at the young age of 22. Alfred Tennyson's first son was named Hallam after his best friend. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let it die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let it go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to humankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust for gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant, bold, and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the light that is to be. These are the words of a 19th century poet. May we...
One more step along the world I
So now is our time that we don't have a chance very often in a very full room to share prayers with each other individually. And today is going to be one of those opportunities we have to share some of the things that we have in our minds and on our hearts. Today I'd like to invite us to offer prayers for those things that are hopes, those things that are, as we enter into a new year, as we travel into some newness in a new year, some of the things that we might hope for our world, hope for our communities, hope for our loves. As we share those hopes for our world in the coming months, would you please end that prayer with the simple phrase, "in this sharing," and we'll all respond with the words, "may love abound." So what are your hopes and dreams? What are your wishes for the world in the coming year?
I'm going to do it, Kyle, in March, because I'm going to have a big party.
Allison's retiring in March. She'll have a big party. In this sharing, may love abound.
I ask you to pray for the mother of our dear, dear granddaughter, Serenity, and that she finds her way in the future. In this sharing,
may love abound.
I'd like to give a prayer to my son-in-law who lost his sister yesterday, and to her husband, Bob.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I hope that the leaders of this world finally wake up and realize the imminent danger of climate change, and we do something to try and save this world.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I hope and dream for a world of less consumerism and our scientists to help find solutions to help clean our planet and find ways to reduce plastics and all of the other pollutants that we have in our world.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I pray that our city's fight against homelessness continues to be successful.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I hope for the continuity and the growth of 12-step programs so that those suffering from addictions can find the God of their understanding and walk the path to recovery.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I pray that the protests in Hong Kong, there will be wisdom and solution to end this, and that Hong Kong will return to be a prosperous city as it has always been. In this sharing,
may love abound.
My prayers for all those who are fleeing terror and hatred, that they find a safe haven and that their life returns to a more loving life, and those who perpetrate may find the wisdom to know that that is not the way to live in this world. In this sharing,
may love abound.
I pray for healing for all those with physical, mental, and emotional ills in this sharing.
May love abound.
It's always hard to find the words to say all the concerns and cares that we have. I hope and pray that through education, the peoples of the world will get to understand the various religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, so that these violences, these hatreds, and these killings are not the way to live. It just breaks my heart, and I hope that there can eventually be a saner world in this sharing.
May love abound.
Two days ago, 14 people gathered together to help to celebrate with the Alamad family their second year in Canada. My hope is certainly that other communities will welcome newcomers to Canada the way that this family has been welcomed, and that all of us will live together in harmony and peace in this sharing.
May love abound. Let's continue as we sing our prayer for a new day, and know that our hopes and our prayers for the coming year are not just hopes, but they are indeed intentions and commitments that we make to building the world that we wish to see. Let's sing for a new day. So as we look towards 2020, we see a block of time. We see 12 months, we see 52 weeks, we see 365 days, and this is where I had to have Google's help. 8,760 hours, 525,600 minutes. That one I know from a Rent song. 31,536,000 seconds. Well, anyway. Doesn't matter how we look at the next year, all of it is a gift. We've done nothing to deserve it. In a household where we have just recently been having the debate, oh, do we get the Disney Plus streaming channel or not because they want to see Mandalorian, but should we want to pay $8.99 a month, renewing every month on Dad's credit card or not? No. Yeah, yeah. Where were you yesterday, Allison? Anyway, unlike that, we've done nothing to purchase, lease, or rent the next year, and all of those designations. We've done nothing to deserve the next year, like the air that we breathe. Our time comes to us as a part of life. And the gift of time is not just ours. It's given equally to each person on this planet. Rich and poor, educated and ignorant, strong and weak, every person on the planet has the same 24 hours a day. So obviously, it goes without saying then that it is the way we spend it that makes the difference between the prayers that we just prayed and the reality of our world that we see. We can waste it, we can worry over it, we can spend it on ourselves, on others, we can invest it in what is keenly important to us. The ancient Hebrew prophet Isaiah spoke millennia ago about the danger of dwelling too much in the past. Replaying it again and again does nothing to help our present and our future, but rather than dwelling on it, he and his community were recommending a diet of alertness and presentness to what is happening now, because a new thing might be just over the horizon. And that we might make a new thing appear on the horizon if we continue moving forward, not if we move backwards and turn around to stare at what has been. I think Tennyson, it was very touching, this poem that he wrote upon the death of his friend, because it seems he was in grief. And many of us, when we come through this Christmas season and ponder the turn of a year, this whole season brings things to the surface. Just looking at the Christmas tree reminds us of who we've looked at that tree with in the past. Just the very carols that meet our ears bring griefs to mind. And so it's a difficult time to speak about forgetting the past and looking only to the future, because we can't. We can't do that. To honor what has been and what has come before, and all those who have made us who we are. So Tennyson is wonderful in this sense, in that he writes this poem in the midst of grief, but also at the turn of a year, and suggests that we can wring some things out while wringing some other things in. That there is time for both. That there's time for grief, but there's a time to look at the favor of better things. And he provides many examples that Joyce read for us. Many of those stanzas provide us examples, but just two of them that speak to me in this moment. And as if it wasn't 150 years ago that he wrote this, but as if it were today he wrote this: "Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right, ring in the common love of good." I guess public discourse has always been nasty. Is that the thing we're supposed to take from this? Well, in any case, we're still praying for the love of truth and right, aren't we? Ring in the valiant, bold, and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the light that is to be. That despite heavy hearts about the state of our world and the grief that we're in, there is a place in this time of year to ring in new things. And my goodness, this book of mistakes. Karina Lewikin, if anyone knows how to pronounce that, you'll tell me after. I just know you will. or I'll get 4 emails. That's probably the way it'll work. She reminds us that in this time of resolutions and beginning new things, there's no such thing as a perfect life. And that is really good for us to know, because we're making those resolutions, or maybe we've given up on them, which is fine. But at a time where we think, oh, well, this year might be different, there is no such thing as perfection, and striving for such a thing is a recipe for disappointment. Life is imperfect, and how we respond to our imperfections is more important than questing for something that can't happen. And so I love that this author recommends wholeheartedly the making of mistakes and making new ones and trying new things when mistakes happen so that we can make something beautiful out of them. So in our hopes for the new year, we're going to honor an old tradition, and we've done this for a couple of years now at this gathering, the last gathering of the year, and it is something beautiful to me, and I'll just tell you the little story. A small Christian denomination called the Moravians. I know the Moravians because it's the church that ordained me, which I guess is why I know their story. They were in the 18th century centered in a small region of Germany named Herrnhut. It's a little town that's still there. And this is what you'd call in today's language a cooperative. The whole town was the congregation. The community, beginning in about 1720, began a tradition of holding a special service on New Year's Eve called a watch night service. And it was to give thanks for the old year and express the hopes for the new. It included a tradition of selecting watchwords for the congregation and for each household and for each individual. And these watchwords were words, often scriptures, that they would choose at random, and they might give people a focus or something to ponder that would guide them through the coming year. So always looking to either bastardize or improve on traditions, depending on your perspective, I thought that we could focus our attention on some words that we've prepared today, values for living, that we might ponder as a possible watchword for our lives in the coming months. So in these baskets before us are lots of cards with a word on them, random words. Not so random, I mean they're all values, they're all things that we might ponder and good things to think on. But our choosing of them will be random because I didn't put them face up, they're face down. So, you know, you'll take a card and who knows what might be on it. And perhaps it'll speak to you and perhaps it won't. Perhaps what's unclear now may, with focus and attention, become clear at some point in 2020. Maybe at the end of the year, you'll look back at that card and you'll think, I don't know what that was supposed to mean. But they are watchwords. And so perhaps it will be a word, a value, a principle that we'll watch out for. That we will look to either cultivate or perhaps notice in our lives and in the lives of others in the coming months. So it goes without saying, obviously, that there's no power to these words. There isn't any magic, just as there isn't in reading tea leaves or stars or the astrology map, except for what you yourselves ascribe to them. So view these simply as a word that can inspire, that can perhaps be an area of growing or deepening or wondering. If you're like me, perhaps they go on your fridge or on your desk or on the bathroom mirror or wedged in between the vents in your car. I've been doing this for a lot of years. There's lots of places you can put them. But let's hope that they're a reminder of the ways we wish to live and speak and be in the world. So as this centuries-old New Year's tradition transformed many others, may it be for us what we make it. So in this time, I invite you, if you would like, certainly you don't have to, but if you'd like, there will be some music playing. in whatever way you want to come up. You don't have to be neat and orderly about it. Just as you feel like you want to come up, if you want to come up, come and choose a basket, not a basket, a card in the basket, because there's only 3 baskets. We wouldn't have many left. Let's take this time and choose some watchwords for 2020. Now is the season of the year in which we celebrate the birth of one who taught that love and strength beyond all hate, who through his life gave all of us example good and great. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Not we alone, but sages all the same great truth declare, that as we walk within love's light and have the will to dare, we then can make this earth a home and all alike for fair. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. It is a time for new resolve to work for peace on earth, and join as one humanity where all have equal worth. For with such justice, with such love, a new hope comes to birth. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Just before we share our closing words, I'll share, had Donna choose a word as the chair of the board. She chose a word on behalf of the congregation. And, well, interestingly enough, our community's watchword for 2020 is wakefulness. Wakefulness. We will be awake. Wakefulness. We close our time together with another writing, this time by W.R. Hunt. It's called A Morning Wish. The sun is just rising on the morning of another day, the first day of the new year. What can I wish that this day, that this year may bring to me? Nothing that shall make the world of others poorer, nothing at the expense of others, but just those few things which in their coming do not stop with me, but touch me rather as they pass and gather strength. A few friends who understand me and yet remain my friends. A work to do which has real value, without which the world would feel the poorer. A return for such work small enough not to tax unduly anyone who pays. A mind unafraid to travel, even though the trail be not blazed. An understanding heart. A sight of the eternal hills and unbelting sea, and of something beautiful the individual hand has made. A sense of humor and the power to laugh. A little leisure with nothing to do. A few moments of quiet, silent meditation. And the patience to wait for the coming of these things, with the wisdom to know them when they come. we go into the sacredness of this day, of these last days of the year, and the freshness of a new year before us.